This is how to loom knit an owl ornament doing some real simple cabling. This is what it looks like, and it's got two sides to it, so each side has a cabled owl image. And you're going to be using a 12 peg loom, and I would say the more strands of yarn you can use the better. So go ahead and drawstring cast on 12 pegs, and you're going to be working circularly with this. I'm using some scrap white yarn, and I'm using 3 strands of it. The thicker the yarn, the better, because of the type of cabling that is being done here. So this is actually a great scrap yarn project. You can do it in red or other natural colors. Now you want to go ahead and you want to E-wrap 12. And so you'll need a little bit of polyfil for this, and you'll also need 4 pony beads. They can either be yellow or they could be gold. I'm going to be using gold, and you'll need 2 black pony beads for the beak area. You can do whatever color you want, but you'll need 4 of an eye color and 2 of a beak color, whatever you might choose to do. Okay, now you want to go in and you want to purl 12 pegs for 3 rows. Apologize for the loom moving around so much. It's hard to loom knit on this small of a loom and keep it still. Okay, go ahead and pause the video to complete 2 more rows. This is what you should have so far, and go ahead and you can see that that's going to be the bottom of your ornament. Now what you want to do here is you want to purl 1, and then you're going to 2 peg right cable cross and then 2 peg left cable cross. And I'll show you how to do that. And so what you want to do for a 2 peg right cable cross, pull off the first peg. Take the yarn behind that and wrap the next peg. Toss the bottom loop over the top. Take that loop off and move on to peg 1. Then take the peg that's on your hook and move it to peg 2, and then you simply E-wrap it. Now we're going to do a 2 peg left cable cross. And what you want to do is you want to skip the first one. There you can see the crossing. Now what you want to do is you want to skip the first one to do the left cable cross, and you want to E-wrap the second peg. So skip the first, E-wrap the second. Then you're going to take that off, and I like to wrap the first peg around like that. Toss the bottom loop over, and then move that over to peg 2, and that peg onto peg 1. Now I like to go in and tighten up my I like to go in and tighten up my cabling so that it looks nice and tight, and it looks better, it looks cleaner when you tighten up the cabling. Now you want to purl 2, And then you're going to repeat the cabling we just did. You're going to do a right cable cross, 2 peg right cable cross, and then a 2 peg left cable cross. So lift off the first one, E-wrap the second one, toss the bottom loop over. You can put this on an actual loop holder or stitch holder if you don't feel comfortable leaving it on your hook. I do this a lot with just the 2. Okay, and then E-wrap. There's your 2 peg right cable cross. Now we want to do a 2 peg left cable cross. Skip the first one, E-wrap the second one, toss the bottom loop over, lift off, wrap the first peg, toss the bottom loop over, and take it and put it on peg 2, and then put the first loop onto the first peg, and you've just done a left cable cross. And I like to go back and tighten up my cabling. Okay, and then you want to purl 1. Now what you want to do is you want to purl 1, E-wrap 4, purl 2, and E-wrap 4, and purl 1. And you're going to do that a total of 4 rows. So we're doing the body of the owl at this point. And that's your 4 E-wraps, keep in mind. So your 4 E-wraps on each side are your body area there. And so you're going to do this row 4 total times. And you can consider this video as a guide if you wanted to just use the owl technique itself to make it onto the top of booties, which is what I'm planning on doing in the future, and doing the crocodile stitch on top of it. So that's my plan in the future for using this. Now go ahead and pause the video and complete 3 more rows. Alright, now we're going to work on the neck area. So go ahead and purl 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to flip-flop the type of cabling we did. So we're going to do the left cable cross first. So we're going to do the 2 peg left cable cross. So skip the first peg and E-wrap the second peg. Place that on your hook or on a stitch holder. Go back, wrap the first peg, toss the bottom loop over. Place that loop onto the second peg and the second loop onto the first peg. And go ahead and tighten up your loops. Now we're going to do the 2 peg right cable cross. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to lift off the first peg, and you can put it on a stitch holder on your hook. When it's just 2, I like to just hold it on my hook. Skip it, E-wrap peg 2, toss the bottom loop over, place peg 2 on peg 1, and peg 1 on peg 2. And again, we've just created the neck area on our first owl on this side. Make sure you don't have your yarn underneath. Make sure it's always in a place where you can mark it. So go ahead and tighten that up, and then E-wrap and toss over. Now you've just completed the body and the neck. Now you want to purl 2, and then you're going to repeat the exact same thing we just did on the cabling. So you're going to do a 2 peg left cable cross first, then a 2 peg right cable cross. So skip the first peg, wrap the second peg, toss the bottom loop over, take that and hold it onto your hook or a stitch holder. Wrap the peg 1, toss it over, put onto peg 2, and then put the second loop onto peg 1. Okay, and then go ahead and tighten that up. And now you want to do your 2 peg right cable cross, so go ahead and lift up the first loop and hold it onto your hook. E-wrap the second, toss the bottom loop over the top, take that and put it onto peg 1, and then place the loop from your hook onto peg 2. Making sure your working yarn is out from underneath. Okay. And now you want to go in and tighten that up and then E-wrap. And then you'll want to purl 1. You just completed the neck area. Now we're going to complete the head area. And so what you want to do now is you want to continue what we were doing before. You want to purl 1, E-wrap 4, purl 2, E-wrap 4. Remember the E-wrap sections is where your owl is, and we're doing the head. Go ahead and purl 2. And then E-wrap 4, and then purl 1. And go ahead and you'll want to continue this for 2 more rows. So I would suggest going ahead and pausing the video and complete 2 more rows. And then we will do the top of the head where we can do the little horn areas on the side. Okay, now you want to go back and you want to do kind of the original thing. You want to purl 1 and you want to do a 2 peg right cable cross. We're going to add a purl in here. So go ahead and E-wrap, because this is going to continue, and then you're going to take it and put it onto the first peg. And then to create the horn area, you want to create a change in the texture. So for this, because it's the inside of the head, you want to purl it instead of an E-wrap. If you don't feel comfortable with this, you don't have to. You can E-wrap it, but you want to purl that one because it's the inside. Now we're going to have to do it a little differently. So go ahead and purl the second one. And go ahead and put it on your hook or your stitch holder. Wrap the first one. Toss over. See, that creates your horn area, and then the one you purled is between the horn areas. So that completes the top of your head on your first one. Now you want to purl 2, and then you're going to repeat the same type of cabling that we just did. So go ahead and skip the first peg. E-wrap the second. Toss the bottom loop over. Place it onto the first. Place the first loop onto the second. And we're going to purl it to give it a nice texture change and create a distinct horn area. And then E-wrap the second one. Place on the hook or stitch holder. E-wrap. Place that on peg 2 and the purl on peg 1. Then you want to tighten your loops up. This looks nice and neat. So we've just finished the top of the owl's heads, and now we're just going to finish this up. And we're basically, after this row, we're going to just purl 3 rows of 12. So go ahead and just purl 3 rows of 12, and then you'll be pretty much done. With the loom, we'll just need to be doing a drawstring cast off. So go ahead and pause the video to complete the 3 rows of purling. And then you need 2 more rows to complete. Okay, now that you're done with that, you should start to, when you pull on it, see the owl texture in there with the cabling. Now what you want to do is you want to do a drawstring cast off, which is, thread your needle, send it through all the loops, and then drawstring it together. If you're used to this, you can kind of skip to the end or whatever. But yeah, you're going to do a drawstring cast off. But before you close off your owl with your drawstring cast off, you'll want to stuff them. Now with this one, I'm going to use a very small styrofoam ball. But as I said, you can just use straight up polyfil for this. I kind of did half polyfil and half styrofoam ball because this is an ornament. It's not going to be cuddled and hugged on or anything. It's going to hang on a tree. Now go ahead and stuff your ornament, and then you'll want to close up your ends. So we've just stuffed our ornament, and you'll want to stuff it kind of fuller at the base and less so at the top. And you just saw the reasoning of why you want to use a thicker yarn. Because I'm using white, it doesn't really matter, but if you're going to use a different color that isn't white, like polyfil, I suggest you use as thick of a yarn as you can with that because of the way the cabling goes. So I'm going to go ahead and close off the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to take the crochet hook and tuck my ends in. Now, you don't have to add eyes if you don't want to, but I think the eyes add a little extra. So there you can kind of see the owl pattern, and you want to kind of put an indentation. That's the reason why you want to stuff the base of the body a little bit more. And I'm taking my hot glue gun, and I'm adding glue into the crack between there and adding the pony bead where the eye section would be. You can use yellow if you'd like. I like gold and white. Just go ahead and add some glue there. And you'll want to do this on both sides. You can stop here if you like with adding the eyes if you don't want to add the beak. I'm just using 2 black beads. It's up to you if you want to add the beak, but you want to add the beak in the area that is in between. On both sides. You'll do the same thing on the other side. And there you go. Add a little hook to the top and you're ready to put it on your tree. You're done.